Radical changes are happening to the top European retirement visas. Portugal's parliament just approved, pending a presidential sign-off, a potential doubling of the citizenship timeline for most retirees. This makes European retirement harder, more expensive, and out of reach for many. I'm Brad with Evolution Expats, and I've been helping thousands of retirees navigate similar changes. Today, I'll show you why smart retirees are choosing Panama's Pensionado retirement program over increasingly out-of-reach European programs. Benefits include immediate residency processing, a lower cost of living, no real estate investment needed, and countrywide discounts on everyday expenses such as healthcare and restaurant dining. This and more if you can show a guaranteed income of just under $1,000 a month. Subscribe now to stay ahead of the shifting visa trends and for the latest intel for your life abroad. Now, let me tell you what just happened in Portugal, because this worldwide trend affects anyone who's been planning an international retirement. On October 28, 2025, Portugal's parliament approved major amendments to their nationality law. The changes are now sitting on President de Sousa's desk waiting for his signature. This could happen any day, and once it's signed, here's what changes for retirees. The citizenship timeline goes from 5 years to 10 years for most foreign nationals. That's a doubling. If you're from an EU country or a Portuguese-speaking nation like Brazil, it goes from 5 to 7 years. Still a significant increase. But here's the part that really stings. That countdown now starts when your residency permit is issued, not when you apply. All those months or even years that you spend waiting for your application to be processed, they won't count anymore. You could lose a year, maybe 2 years, right off the bat before your citizenship clock even starts ticking. But this didn't happen in a vacuum. Portugal's been making their program harder to access for a while now. Back in October of 2023, they eliminated the real estate investment option from the Golden Visa program. That was the route that 75% of applicants were using. Just gone. Then in January of 2024, they ended their NHR tax regime. That's the non-habitual resident program that gave retirees a flat 20% income tax rate for 10 years. Retirees absolutely loved that benefit. Also gone. What it means is you're potentially paying taxes in Portugal on your social security benefits if you're there for more than half a year. If you're looking at the D7 visa, which is Portugal's passive income retirement visa, you now need to show at least 870 euros per month. That's 10,440 euros annually, which works out to about 11,280 US dollars. And that number is tied to Portugal's minimum wage, so it keeps climbing every year. The processing times right now, 12 to 18 months is typical, but I'm seeing cases that have taken 40 months or more. The immigration agency AIMA is absolutely drowning in a backlog of over 400,000 applicants. So who does this affect? Americans who thought Portugal was going to be their gateway to Europe. Europeans looking for an affordable retirement outside their home country. Anyone who is counting on using Portugal as a path to EU citizenship, and especially retirees who are banking on those tax advantages that just don't exist anymore. Now here's what most people don't realize. Portugal isn't alone in this. This is a Europe and worldwide trend, and it's accelerating fast. Spain completely shut down their Golden Visa program in April of 2025. Just ended it. Greece has tightened their requirements. Italy is raising their investment minimums. There's a pattern here, and it's all moving in one direction, towards restriction. Let me give you a little historical context, because this helps understand what's happening. After the 2008 financial crisis, Europe opened up these programs specifically to attract foreign capital. From about 2012 to 2020, we had a golden era of accessible European residency programs. They were straightforward, timelines were reasonable. Requirements were achievable for regular middle-class retirees who had saved for retirement. Then, everything flipped between 2023 and 2025. Politicians started blaming foreign buyers for housing shortages. Portugal passed what they call the Mais Habitação law, which means more housing, and they used it to justify eliminating real estate investment routes. Now look, housing crises are complicated, with lots of causes, but it's politically convenient to point at foreign investors. And the result? Programs getting harder, more expensive, and longer timelines, not to mention massive processing backlogs. What used to mean a 5-year path to citizenship with real estate options and tax benefits now means 7 to 10-year timelines. Limited investment routes, no tax perks, and you might wait years just to get your application looked at. So, if Europe is closing doors, where are smart retirees looking instead? Let me tell you about Panama's Pensionado program. And I'm not just reading about this from some government website. I'm a Panamanian permanent resident myself. I spend part of my year there. This is an application process that I've lived through, used personally, and have helped dozens of clients navigate successfully. The Pensionado program was established way back in 1987. That's almost 40 years of stability, which matters a lot when you're planning the rest of your life. It offers immediate permanent residency upon approval. And here's what makes it fundamentally different from Portugal. No investment is required. None. You don't need to buy property. You don't need to park €500,000 in a bank account. You don't need to start a business. Just qualify with your pension and you're in. And it's open to all nationalities. Americans, European, Canadians, doesn't matter where you're from. Now let's talk about the actual numbers because this is where it gets interesting. Panama requires $1,000 per month in lifetime pension income. That's $12,000 annually. Portugal's D7 requires $870 per month, which we just said is about $11,280 annually. So on the surface, they look similar, right? But here's where Panama pulls ahead in a big way. If you purchase real estate in Panama worth $100,000 or more, that pension requirement drops to $750 per month. That's a significant reduction. For each dependent you want to bring, your spouse, minor children, you add $250 per month to the requirement, and you can combine your spouse's pensions to meet the income thresholds. This gives you a lot of flexibility. So what qualifies as a lifetime pension? Social Security from any country, government pensions, military, state retirement, police pensions, private corporation retirement plans, pension funds, trust income, bank or insurance company annuities. The key requirement is that it's guaranteed for life, not just a temporary income source. You will need documentation to this effect. Now, who can actually qualify for this? Once you have started receiving your guaranteed income, you qualify. The age varies slightly by country and by occupation, but as long as you are receiving that income, you qualify. And there's no maximum age. And I want to clear up a misconception because I hear it all the time. I've personally helped clients in their 70s and 80s get approved. Aside from the financial requirements, you need a clean criminal record. You need to be in good health, which gets verified by a Panamanian health certificate issued by a doctor there. And here's what you don't need. No language requirements. Portugal requires you to pass an A2 level Portuguese language test. Panama has no language requirement at all. Portugal's pending law would add a new civic knowledge test where you have to know their constitution and democratic principles. Panama has no civics tests. The processing timeline runs about 3 to 6 months typically. Compare that to Portugal's 12 to 18 months or longer. You'll need to make 2 visits to Panama. The first visit is to submit your application and handle the medical exam and fingerprinting process. The second visit is to collect your permanent residency card when everything has been approved. Permanent residency is granted immediately upon approval. You're not in some temporary status. And if you want it, you have a pathway to Panamanian citizenship after 5 years of permanent residency. That's half the time Portugal would require under their pending law. Now, here's something critical that most people don't think about until they're already in the middle of the process and running into problems. Panama requires you to work through a licensed immigration attorney. This isn't optional. It's built into the legal structure. And your choice of attorney is make or break for this application. Here's what I mean by that. One missed document, one incorrect apostille, one expired certificate, that's months of delays and potentially having to restart the entire process from scratch. I've seen applicants get rejected because someone used an inexperienced attorney who didn't know which immigration officials are currently handling which requirements. Officials have preferences that aren't written in law. If your lawyer isn't doing these applications regularly, they won't know the current landscape. When I applied for my own permanent residency in Panama, I did extensive due diligence to find an attorney I could trust with my case. I interviewed multiple firms, I checked their track records, I talked to their past clients. Now, let me tell you about the benefits that Panama offers that Portugal simply cannot match. Panama has something called the Pensionado Discount Program, and once you see what it includes, you'll understand why retirees fall in love with this country. To qualify for these discounts, women need to be 57 or older, men need to be 62 or older. But once you hit that age threshold, here's what you get. 25 to 50% off your daily expenses. We're talking flights, 25 to 50% off airline tickets that saves you hundreds of dollars every time you travel. Hotels, you get 30 to 50% discounts. Restaurants give you 25% off. Entertainment, movies, concerts, sporting events, 50% off. I'm not exaggerating when I say these discounts can save you $500 or more every single month. Medical costs drop dramatically too. 20% off medical consultations with private doctors. 15% off hospital bills when you're not using insurance. 10% off prescription medications at pharmacies nationwide. 15 to 20% off various professional services, and 50% off loan closing costs if you choose to buy a property. You also get one-time import benefits that are significant. $10,000 duty-free on household goods when you move down. That covers your furniture, your personal belongings, everything you're bringing to start your retirement in paradise. And here's a big one. Import tax exemptions on a new car every 2 years. Now, you don't need to import a car every 2 years, but the option exists if you want it. Now, let's talk about taxation, because this is where Panama really shines compared to Portugal. Panama operates on what's called a territorial taxation system. That means they only tax income that's sourced from within Panama itself. Your foreign pension, zero Panamanian tax. Your investment income from accounts in the US or Europe, zero Panamanian tax. Your rental income from properties you own back home, zero Panamanian tax. None of your foreign income gets touched. Portugal used to have the NHR regime that gave favorable tax treatment to foreign income. We already talked about how that's gone. If you spend more than 183 days per year in Portugal, you become a tax resident and your worldwide income gets taxed at Portuguese rates. For Americans specifically, most retirees in Panama owe little or nothing to the IRS. You can use the foreign earned income exclusion if you're still doing any kind of work. That's $130,000 that you can exclude in 2025. Social Security benefits get favorable treatment under US tax law as well. Only up to 85% is taxable, and many retirees fall below the threshold where they actually owe anything after deductions. You still get your standard deduction, and the reality is that most American retirees living in Panama are filing their annual returns, but they're writing checks of $0 to the IRS. This, of course, should all be confirmed by your independent tax advisor. Now, what about physical presence requirements? Portugal's Golden Visa requires that you be present in the country for 7 days the first year, then 14 days every 2 years after that. Panama's Pensionado Visa requires you to visit once every 2 years. That's it. Technically, 1 day every 2 years satisfies the requirement, though I do recommend spending at least a week when you visit to handle any administrative matters or banking needs. But the point is, the requirement is incredibly light. You're not locked into spending significant time there if your life circumstances change. Let's talk about the cost of living, because retirement is fundamentally about making your money last as long as possible. According to Numbeo's October 2025 data, and Numbeo is one of the most reliable sources for this kind of comparative information, Panama's cost of living, including rent, runs about 36% lower than the United States. When you look at rent specifically, US rent runs about 90% higher than Panama's. So, housing costs are dramatically more affordable compared to the United States. Compared to the United Kingdom, Panama is roughly 31% lower overall. Compared to Australia, you're looking at around 30 to 35% lower depending on which categories you include. So what does that actually mean in real dollars? A comfortable retirement for a couple in Panama runs about $1,500 to $2,500 per month. That range depends on your lifestyle choices and which part of Panama you're living in. Panama City is more expensive, smaller cities and beach towns are cheaper. But even at the higher end of that range, you're living very, very comfortably. And here's the best news. The average US Social Security payment is $1,827 per month. That means most Americans can live comfortably in Panama on their Social Security income alone without even touching their other retirement accounts, 401ks, IRAs, or pensions. Let me give you two real scenarios so you can actually see yourself in this. First scenario, an American couple living on Social Security. They're getting $2,800 per month combined. They easily qualify for the Pensionado program. They pay zero Panamanian tax on their Social Security income. The retiree discounts that we talked about save them $500 or more every month on top of the lower base cost of living. They can visit the United States whenever they want. There's no restriction on leaving Panama. They can spend summers with grandkids and come back for the warm winter. This is by far the most common profile that I see. Regular middle-class Americans who save for retirement, have Social Security, and want their money to go farther in a beautiful location. The second scenario, a European couple with combined pensions. He's got a €550 per month military pension. She's got a €600 per month pension from a private employer. Combined, that's €1,150, which is about $1,250 at the time of this recording. They qualify as a couple, and if they wanted, they could even bring one dependent with them at that income level, since it's only an extra $250 per month per dependent. They escape the high European costs. We're talking United Kingdom, Germany, France, where everything is expensive. They escape the weather, no more cold, gray winters. They get year-round warmth and sunshine. And they're still reasonably close to Europe if they need to go back for family. It's only about a 9-hour flight. I'm seeing more and more Europeans make this move as European programs become restrictive and unaffordable. Can you see yourself in either of these scenarios? Because if you can, you're probably a strong candidate for this program. Let me tell you Evolution Expat's position on all of this and why timing matters right now. Portugal's pending changes represent a broader European trend that isn't reversing. This nationality law could be signed literally any day now, and once it's enacted, that 10-year timeline becomes the reality for most applicants. 7 years for European Union citizens and Portuguese speakers, but still longer than the 5 years people have been planning on. Waiting around hoping that things will improve, that rarely works with immigration law. I've been doing this for over a decade, and I can tell you that historical precedent is very clear. When programs restrict, they don't liberalize. They don't get easier, cheaper, or faster. When was the last time you saw a government program anywhere in the world make things easier for applicants? It doesn't happen. The trend line is always toward more restrictions, higher requirements, and longer processing times. The best time to secure residency was yesterday. The second best time is right now. So, here are the action steps you should take even if you're not quite ready to pack up and move tomorrow. First, get your document hygiene in order now. Even if you're just researching and thinking about this, get these documents while they're easy to obtain. Get updated birth certificates issued by the Office of Vital Records in your state or country of birth. Not hospital copies, but official government-issued documents. Secure your apostilles on your essential documents. The apostille is what makes your documents legal and valid in Panama. It's an international certification. Obtain pension verification letters from your pension provider clearly stating that the pension is for life and the amount that you receive. Familiarize yourself with the process of requesting a federal background check for your criminal record. Those documents are typically valid for 6 months once issued, so you want them to be ready to go when you're ready to move forward. Second, assess your pension situation honestly. Does your pension qualify as lifetime guaranteed income? If you're not sure, that's exactly what a consultation is for. Could you structure an annuity if you needed to in order to meet the requirements? Would it make sense to buy property in Panama to reduce the income requirement down to the $750 per month? Third, consider the timing carefully. Panama's program has been stable for 38 years. That's a really good track record, but there's no ironclad guarantee that it stays this accessible forever. Look at what's happened to Spain's Golden Visa. One day it existed, people were making plans to apply, and then overnight the government announced that they were ending the program. Everyone who was planning to apply just lost their opportunity. Just gone. Fourth, think beyond Europe. Europe isn't the only option for quality international retirement. Panama offers specific advantages that Europe simply cannot match. Dramatically lower costs of living, better taxation structure, more generous discount programs for actual retirees, and a lighter physical presence requirement. Latin American programs in general are more stable and less restrictive than European ones right now. Here's what we're seeing for our clients. Inquiries about Latin America and Panama are up substantially since Portugal's announcement. Both Americans and Europeans are pivoting their strategies fast. The smart planners, the people who think ahead, they're securing Plan B residency programs while they are still accessible and straightforward. The historical lesson is really clear. People who prepared early had options when things changed. People who waited and said, "I'll do it next year," lost opportunities when programs ended or ended without warning. Let me wrap this up. Portugal is moving towards significantly harder retirement residency. We're talking longer timelines, 7 to 10 years instead of 5, stricter requirements including language and civics tests, tax benefits that used to exist have been eliminated, processing backlogs that stretch through years. This isn't some weird anomaly that's going to reverse. It's a trend across Europe, and it's accelerating. Meanwhile, Panama offers immediate permanent residency with a lower pension requirement than Portugal, no investment mandate, incredible discount benefits that save you real money every month, and a taxation structure that leaves your foreign income completely untouched. This is exactly why expert guidance matters in this space. At Evolution Expats, we've helped hundreds of retirees assess whether programs like Panama's Pensionado actually fit their specific situations, their income sources, their family structure, and their long-term goals. You can consult with us or use our DIY guide if you prefer. Either way, I will send you to the same lawyers I use for myself. We will review your pension documentation in detail, assess your eligibility not just for Panama, but for other programs that you might be considering, and we'll create a comprehensive strategy that matches your retirement timeline and your goals. Whichever route you take, you'll need your documents in order, so take a few minutes and check out our document hygiene playlist. It covers the entire apostille and authentication process you're going to need for any international residency program, not just Panama or Portugal. And lastly, subscribe for ongoing updates because these programs evolve constantly and you need to stay informed. Let me know in the comments what countries or programs do you have questions about, and I'll cover them in an upcoming episode. Remember, the right information makes it all possible. I'm Brad with Evolution Expats, and I'll see you in our next video.